So let me go into this spread. The first thing that I mentioned, that I saw earlier was I feel like there are going to be people either moving in or moving out of your household unit. This is a card overall. It's not bad, but it usually indicates to me some shifts, some energy changes, some things that are happening in your housing sector. And this is like the physical dwelling. There might be, people doing excavations, for example, that creates a lot of noise. There might be excessive light pollution. There might be, a piping, some type of outside exterior structure that needs to be looked at, or that needs to be unearthed, or that needs to be fixed. So if you have electricity, wiring, and things like that, there might be some people, like electricians, coming by with a crane, and they have to fix it. Or if there's plumbing situations, not so much inside the house, but I feel like it's surrounding the house. So there seems to me to be a lot of people, a lot of construction, a lot of excavation, a lot of unearthing around your housing situation. And at the same time, this is a card greatly about, are we happy where we are? Do we need to shift? Is the place really good? Is it near a good school for the kids? Is it safe for the kids to go home at night? Is it safe for us to, walk at night? Or do we need to change location? So I definitely feel many of you are having thoughts here about long-term viability of where you're living, and whether or not it's good for you long-term, whether or not you need to make a move, and when is the time for you to make a move. So a lot of decisions here regarding the housing, the physical dwelling where you are staying. I'm also feeling as well, if in the past there has been a lot of combativeness, combative energies, people disagreeing. They also mentioned earlier with the work thing, a very crowded house. So you might be thinking about, having additions in your family. So you might have a new child. You might have people living with you. You might have an expanding household. And everyone's getting on each other's nerves because the space is limited. And so you're constantly in each other's way, in each other's space. And so the first thing that I would advise, and I don't get this for a lot of Virgos, but I do get it for a lot of Leos. So if you have a tendency to be a hoarder, if you have a lot of Leos in your chart, if you have a tendency to hoard, to hang on to things, or even, Virgo rising, Virgo moons who are watching this, if you have a lot of physical stuff in your housing environment, it's time to declutter. It's really, really time to let it go. It's really time to clear up the space so that you can have clear energy, and so that you can also make room for the people. So I feel like there is definitely change in housing environment. People moving in, people moving out, or the space itself feels like it's too small. It feels too claustrophobic. So the first thing is not to get rid of the people, because, they're going to be around, but to get rid of things that you don't need, to clear up the space so that energetically there's enough space for all the people to fit into this housing environment. Does that make sense? So declutter as much as you can, get rid of things you don't need, because I feel like it's a little bit overbearing. Okay. It feels very claustrophobic to me. I mentioned family. This is a card about family reunions, family get together. And it's actually a really positive card, because I feel like a bunch of people, family members, friends, and things like that, coming together because of some major, major breakthrough when it comes to career and success. So you have a lot of good things coming into the picture, and I feel like it's going to make you feel really good. However, there's also an element here about family being a little bit of a burden, or being a little bit of a financial drain. Okay. So I'm feeling that, yes, while all of this celebratory energy is happening, I'm also seeing an element of blending of families, your side of the family and the in-laws, and then, all the egos at work, all the people with their ideas of what you should do. Because I feel like a lot of the times, I don't know why, and you might agree with this, but for some reason you find yourselves in a situation where you attract people who are really powerful, and they have a tendency to constantly feel like they can tell you what you should do, and I feel this for a lot of you guys. And it mainly because you're very polite, I feel like that's it. You're very polite. You're very well mannered. You speak very eloquently. And other people see that. And honestly, like, they should admire that. They should revere those things about you. But they feel like they need to assert themselves. They need to tell you what to do. They need to tell you things that you're doing wrong. And it's like, that's not the reality. So you have a tendency, and it's not, you know, anything that you're doing wrong. You have a tendency to attract people that constantly feel the need to tell you what to do. And so I see a lot of egos at work. I just see, you know, this whole thing is screaming out family, 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 really opinionated family members that can't really see outside of themselves. So that's going to be a little bit aggravating, but you know, you sail through it just fine. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of contact with family. And there's also this element as well. You know, like a lot of the times, this is a card about generational wealth, okay? But in this spread, I feel like this is overall money that you've built up over time. Things that you've had to do on a consistent, regular basis, such as working from, you know, for like 10, 20 years, working for decades, so that you can climb that corporate ladder, so that you can get yourself into a vertical position, like into a higher paying job, into a higher salary scale, working at a situation tirelessly. And this is the month where I definitely feel there is success, but I definitely feel you have some reservations about, what am I doing here? I'm not learning anymore. And I also feel like this is the month where all the hard work, all the sacrifices that you've made in order to achieve your financial future, achieve your financial independence, you are starting to think that money is only a means to an end. What am I giving up as what am I giving up as a result of pursuing money? And I feel many of you are going to be redirecting yourself to possibly do work that is less stressful. If you are tirelessly working, where you actually bring work home, or you're constantly working on the weekends, this is the month where family, you know, will start to, I feel like the whole concept of, you know, what's really important to us, people around us, or the money that we're making, that we're hoarding, that's going to come into the picture. And whatever is not viable anymore, you're going to start to see it. It's going to be like a blaring, you know, light, and you're just not going to be able to deny it anymore. And I'm also sensing as well, family possibly needing assistance, family possibly needing help, health. The Judgment card is greatly about health, diagnoses, medical prognoses, and things like that. Coming in for like I'm feeling like coming in like health scares and things like that. I don't feel it's happening to you, because with the sun, it indicates a lot of success, but also, you know, physical stamina. So I don't think that that's the problem, but I feel like it might be happening to family members around you. Okay. Not to scare you. I feel like it's going to be fine. I feel like it might just be a scare, but there is an element here about family being a little bit draining on us. Okay. Like their expectations, their way of constantly telling you what they think you should do, even though they're not really living your life. Even though their life might be very chaotic, very, very messy, and they feel like they can control yours, that element is coming through where it feels very ironic. It feels very laughable that their life is awry, but yet they feel like they can tell you, you know, how to live your life. So that's going to be, I feel like, the major source of irritation, okay, from family. The other thing that's coming into the picture, and this was what I was mentioning for you regarding your work situation. Be careful about revealing too much, okay? This is a situation where I feel like it's almost like this. There's mandates, okay? So there are things that we're supposed to do. People, like procedures, protocols that are already in place. And so on the surface, it's like, okay, so if we just follow all these procedures, we'll be fine. But the reality of it is, for example, if you're in a work environment, it's very strict, and all the procedures, all the protocols create a lot of blockages, create a lot of bottlenecks, create a lot of inefficiencies in the place that you work. So in reality, yes, all of those things are in place. They're binding. But when you actually work and you get in the flow of work, you know what to do. You don't have to follow everything to the T. So I feel like there's an element here about that's coming in for you guys in your career sector for this this month. You want to be very, very procedurally correct, even though it's inefficient, even though it can slow down work because somebody's watching. That's what it feels like. And then I'm also feeling as well, if you have a conversation, especially if you are working in an environment, female boss, female supervisor, you want to be very, very careful because not that it's a bad person, okay, but this is the energy that I'm feeling here, working with a female boss, female supervisor. It could also be male, so it's not gender specific, but with the moon, which is a very feminine energy, with this card, it basically means you feel like you're safe telling them everything. They're going to come across as someone who's very approachable, who's very nice, who has this demeanor of like, oh, I really care about you. But I feel, not that they have ulterior motives, but I feel like they're your supervisor, they're not your friend. So it's really important to hold back. It's really important to treat them in a very professional way. And it's really important to not cross those boundaries, okay? Because I feel like they make you feel very warm and fuzzy, very supportive, and very supported. And they make you feel like, oh, you can talk to me about anything. And you might be in a position where you reveal a little bit too much. So please be careful about that. If you have a fire sign supervisor, Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo, I want you to be extra careful when you're dealing with them. Because I feel like what you see is not what you get. And I also feel like, like if you have valid complaints about work, do not reveal anything this month, okay? Because there's more to the story. They themselves are very constrained about the changes that they can make. So if you reveal something, they're not going to be in a position to fix it. And so it's all done for nothing. It's all done for show. It's all done possibly for them to exert power and control in this situation rather than really wanting to help you. So I just want you to please be careful about that. What I'm also feeling is there's a lot of just kind of like feeling bored, feeling ineffective, feeling like, where do I go next? What's my next step? Where do I go from here? This job is not shiny and sparkly and interesting anymore. I want out. I want something new. I want to take a different approach. So if you feel that way with your job, or even if you feel like financially it's not cutting it, it's not helping you pay the bills, it's not leading you to a career path. It's okay to do right now, but it's not leading to a career path. I would advise you to try and change gears, position yourself so that you can be in a situation where you don't have to handle all that damage control, where you're working at a job where you're not financially compensated what you are worth. And I'm also sensing as well, you've been thinking about this. You know what you're worth. You know how good of a worker you are. You know all the skills, the competencies, the technical expertise that you bring to the table. You've been eyeing, you've been scanning the horizon for other opportunities for quite some time. But this is a card about inaction. Just looking, but not really doing anything about it, okay? So I feel like this is the month where you're not just going to be looking. You're going to grab opportunities. You're not going to be like this and complacent and inactive anymore. You're going to make a big, big change. And I feel like there might be some confusion around that. I feel like if you have a job right now and you're looking for other opportunities, you're doing it in a very stealthy way under the covers, which is good. Don't inform other people. Keep things to yourself. Do things, I want to say like behind the scenes. You know, you don't need to disclose any information. So I feel like you are positioning yourself to a place where you have a lot more freedom, where you have a lot more power, where you have a lot more control over the work that you do, over the people that you manage, okay? I do see an element as well about missing a relationship partner. This is a card about long distance, not being in contact, physical contact with a relationship partner, or feeling like there is a relationship coming back together and then it goes away. So it could be long distance, reconnecting with somebody long distance, and then they go off and then you go back to your old life. So that's coming through, but I feel like it's not going to be aggravating or anything like that. There's a very strong soulful connection here. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that. I do feel, lots of changes are happening. You're feeling it, and it's not all in your head. It's actually, you're feeling the vibrations, the vibrations through the ground. Okay. It's permeating every cell of your body. And I feel like it's really telling you success is coming. A lot of good things. I feel like new beginnings are happening for you. Finances will get better, but I feel that it might not be until, the next 4 months. Okay. And I'm also sensing as well, keep your cards close to your chest. Don't reveal everything just yet. Okay. Be smart about this. Be a little bit stealthy about this time.